Well, welcome everybody to the Inner Circle podcast. My name is Master Tim Berlow. I'm here with Master C.J. and Master Tracy, and we're very excited to kick off our new podcast with the intention to inspire, to educate anybody in the martial arts industry that wants to, learn the tactics, the skills, and the different things to, find success in your business, in life, and in everything. All right, so I'm going to pass it on to Master Tracy, who's going to kind of guide some of the questions.
So first, I want to thank whoever's listening to this, and we're just going to talk about who we are and why we're doing this. So, Master C.J., why don't you just give us a quick rundown who you are and your 5-minute Taekwondo martial arts journey.
Yes, sir.
We'll try and keep it in 5 minutes.
I will.
Hard to compress 30 years.
Yeah, we could all talk. So, especially me.
You guys have an hour, right?
Yeah. Strap in, everyone. Okay, now. So yes, my name is Master C.J. Edichico. I just go by Master C.J. And I've been training in martial arts for nearly 30 years. I just crossed 29 years last month. And it's been the number one love of my life. My first love, besides my beautiful wife. And I definitely am all in 100% as far as training, teaching, mentoring, trying to inspire the next generation of martial arts to be their best. And I'm just so excited to be a part of this podcast with Master Tracy, Master Berlow, two really amazing colleagues and friends. And, we're excited to really give our insight. I come from a background where I train with Olympic level athletes and masters, and I've had the privilege of really learning from the best growing up, and then especially into my adulthood of training and teaching, going out into the world and meeting people like the Berlow family and the Tracys of the world, and really starting to open my eyes to even bigger and better ways to do things. And I think that us collaborating on this podcast is really going to help the next generation of maybe young school owners or young instructors who are just coming up. And then on top of that, being able to share insights from guests that we have on, being able to network with people who come onto the show, and we're going to continue to learn too. It's not like we know all and be all everything. We're trying to become better and learn every single day also. So I think this is going to be a great collaborative project. And I'd love to throw it over to Master Tracy and talk about his background too.
So I started training in 2003. I was 6 years old under Master Berlow's dad, Grandmaster Berlow, who's definitely going to be a guest on this podcast. But I was the shy kid. I wasn't, super confident, but I gained that confidence through the Taekwondo training. And I decided, junior year of high school that this is what I'm going to do professionally. And then I didn't tell my parents, so I went to 4 years of, I graduated with a BS in industrial engineering. It's a bachelor's in science. I call it bullshit. I don't know if we decide whether or not we're going to curse on this, but I think we
that'll be his. That's his one per episode. We're allowing
one.
So sorry, audience.
Let's give him two. Come on.
But it was kind of like I was doing this, but to kind of make my parents happy, but I really knew that I wanted to do Taekwondo because of the impact that it had on me, and I could see the impact it had on the students that I was teaching when I was younger. So I graduated college 2019, July. Started my full-time martial arts career. We all know what happened 8 months later was COVID, and the school that we were in was doing pretty well, and then COVID we were down to 80 students from 300 down to 80 at some point, maybe even lower. And then the person that was running the school, he left to pursue other things, and we were kind of more in charge, the younger generation, and everything kind of skyrocketed and boomed afterwards. And then I purchased half the school from Grandmaster Berlow in 2023, and now we have over 550 students at the time of the recording here. Hopefully it'll be 570 soon. And obviously I've known Master Berlow 20 something years at this point, and Master C.J. through the Taekwondo professionals, and this is kind of scratching our own itch, because we want to talk to each other, see what we can do better, network with the greatest minds. And I almost feel like we're lucky, and without doing this, we'd be kind of selfish, because we know so many of the best and the brightest in the industry, and we have access to them so frequently. Like Master Berlow's dad is, probably one of the the leaders in the industry
Literally.
for the past
Literally.
20 something years.
Yeah.
And it would be selfish to hold on to that knowledge.
Yeah.
With that being said, Master Berlow, why don't you tell us, I mean, it's probably your life story, Taekwondo is
I'm a prince.
the same.
Well, it's actually very easy to say. A lot of people, they join martial arts. I was born into martial arts.
Yes.
As well, as they said, Grandmaster Berlow happens to be my father. I've gone through my entire life in a Taekwondo school. I was, it's embarrassing to say, but I guess I was potty trained in a Taekwondo school. That's how
awesome.
far back it goes. I could tell you guys stories of the crazy kid, not old enough to do Taekwondo, but running around spearing pizza on the windows of a dojo.
Now he backflips
That
onto
was
the
2
toilet.
months ago, right?
That was actually, I'm sorry, Friday. It was Friday that happened.
They call him Master Berlow, but he just earned his red belt, so we're very excited for him.
I'm considering starting Taekwondo one of these days.
Oh yeah, you should. I think you'd be really good at it.
But yeah, no. So I've been I can say 25 years of martial arts experience. I was one of the youngest black belts my dad ever promoted. And I mean, a lot of people are going to say they've had an impact from Taekwondo. They've had things that they've grown from. It's just really who I am. It's just kind of, I wake up in the morning and Taekwondo is my life, and I wouldn't wish for anything else.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. I think my favorite thing, I love training. I love sweating. I love working hard. I love developing personally. I love working with students and helping them develop and grow. And when you see somebody, they have a challenge and they overcome that challenge, and it's hard to, you can get emotional saying this kind of stuff,
100%. I cry all the
just
time.
seeing the growth, seeing the impact that Taekwondo has on this next generation. I'm just here because I want more people to do Taekwondo.
Yeah.
I want everybody. I think if everybody lived with martial arts values, respect, confidence, self-control, integrity, everything that we offer, I think that the world will just be a great place. So I'm just grateful. I'm excited. I have some insight personally that I can give. These guys are amazing. They have so much stuff, and we're always trying to learn and grow, and we're excited to invite people on. But I'm just really excited. I'm grateful.
Well, I think that Master Berlow brought up a great point. He basically said it already, but I think that when we started our journey in martial arts and in Taekwondo, it was for selfish reasons in a sense, right? Whether you were born into it, right? Your father, needed to start his own business and he needed students, and he's like, all right, my son's my first student, essentially, right? In a kind of. But also you have, moments where we started training and it was for different reasons, right? I started training because the school that I became a part of hosted birthday parties, and my brother's best friend invited us to do a birthday party, right? And come with us. Now at the time, Power Rangers had just come out, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was popular, I was all in, I had swords already at 3 years old and whatever. And that was my reason for starting, but I know these guys can definitely speak on it as well. But as we progressed through our career in doing this, it became about others, right? And it became about inspiring other people to want to be like us and want to feel that love and joy. And like Master Berlow just said, you can get emotional thinking about it. I get goosebumps every time I talk about inspiring the next generation. So,
it's amazing.
So let me ask Master Tracy, what was there a pivotal moment? You could say, the power shift from that instructor leaving and during COVID and everything, but was there a moment you remember that was, wow, this is a moment where it's no longer about me and it's about others?
Definitely. So I was a senior in high school. It was the summer before I went to college, and I still have this printed out email hanging in my office. It was a student, she was 6 years old at the time, and her mom wrote this nice email about how me teaching her at 17 years old really influenced her life, and she, as a white belt, the parent understood that we were about more than just kicking and punching. And I knew from that moment on, like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, not because of what it did for me, but what I can help do for others.
Yeah.
Do you have a similar?
Oh, I going back in the archives. I think my big. I got a few. All right, I got one. The first time I ever had somebody go from white belt to black belt underneath. And the moment that that student became a black belt and I tied the belt around their waist, that was one of the moments. I've always known though, since I was this big, that this was gonna be my life. You know, I always knew. Never had a doubt. I remember I would have conversations. I wouldn't even be in the front seat of the car because I was too little. I'd be in the back seat. Dad, I'm going to open up a super UMAC. I'm going to make it the biggest, the best. We're going to have so many students, and we're going to grow, and everybody's going to do Taekwondo. It's going to be amazing. You know, there are those pivotal moments. There's those moments where you see somebody struggle and having so much trouble. And they want to quit, they don't want to do it, but then you say these little things, little cues, little words, and remind them of the values that we work on. And then they overcome that challenge, and then they say thank you. You know, they say thank you, and it just warms your heart. You get the goosebumps. Again.
Well, I gotta put branch off that for a second. So we always talk about we're inspiring the next generation, right? But we also inspire each other, right? And there's grandmasters and masters who are older than us that they'll say to us, wow, what did you just do? I'm learning from you. From people who, they've been training longer than we're alive, teaching, running schools longer than we're even alive, right? But they're getting inspiration from us, and I think that's so pivotal in the progress of where martial arts as a whole is going, which is there's no longer this whole stigma of, oh, if I'm a higher rank than you, and if I've been doing this longer than you, I can't learn anything from you. Right? Like, it's actually becoming the opposite. And I think our pioneers are responsible for that, and we're continuing to carry out that legacy. So I want to share, because we haven't said it yet, but I own my own school. It's called Legacy Martial Arts Center. And when I was considering the name of naming my school, the first school that I thought of was UMAC, because they have been such great friends of mine, great mentors, great colleagues. And when I was coming up with the name, I knew I wanted legacy to be a part of it, because that's ultimately my goal, is to leave a great legacy, not about me, but about everyone who's involved in whatever impact I can have. I want them to leave a great legacy and impact the masses. But I knew legacy was going to be a part of it. I knew I wanted to put martial arts in there because, you know, obviously it's what we do. But putting the center on the end, and then I realized it would be LMAC, and they're UMAC, and it just worked so perfectly. And it was, I'll tell the quick story. So they obviously have known each other, like I said, from training in the same school system. But I met them through Master Michael Mertens, shout out, and you know, big dog. And so Master Michael Mertens started Taekwondo Professionals, right? They're from World Class Taekwondo. You can consider a gold standard of running martial arts schools. I mean, they really have their you know what together, something that Master Tracy said.
We've all learned so much from him.
And he just friended me on Facebook, was trying to get me to go. He knew that I was running schools at the time. It was before I owned Legacy Martial Arts Center, but I was running schools with my old instructors. And, you know, he contacted me and was trying to get me to be a part of it, come to the convention. So I went, and the first convention, I think the first year I went was 2022, I believe, or 21. And I didn't know anybody in the room. I just knew of Master Michael Mertens, right? Like, he was the person that got me there, but I didn't really know anybody else. So I feel like this little tadpole in a big pond of all these people that run schools, and I just kind of walk in. I go in the back of the room. I should have had more confidence, but I just like jet right to the back. And then you guys are sitting at the table.
Also in the back of the room.
Yeah, right. And I did know Grandmaster Berlow. Him and I also became friends on Facebook previous to this. So I knew of him. I knew of his school, but I didn't really know. From looking at them, didn't know who they were from it. And I asked him, hey, can I sit with you guys? So we sit down. And then we also sat with another cool guy, Master C.J. Rufino. He was sitting at the table. Shout out. And
Big dog.
Big dog. And so I sit down. And they were just so gracious, you know, like, hey, yeah, sit with us. So I'm sitting with them, they weren't wearing any UMAC shirts, so I had no idea who they were. I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? I sit down. Master Mertens giving his opening, a speech. And then Grandmaster Berlow walks in, right at the door of where we were sitting by. So when I see him and I know who he is. So I get up and I bow to him. And then he sits right at the table. And then he starts talking about, hey guys, what's up? And they're like, hey. And I'm like, wait a second, who the heck am I sitting with? And then I realized who they were, right? And it just goes to show, number one, Grandmaster Berlow, his influence on them as people, right? Like, you guys are just so gracious just from the get-go.
I owe everything to him.
We gotta be careful. We don't want his ego and
Yeah.
too big.
By the way, this episode is sponsored by Empowered Mastery, which is Grandmaster Berlow's podcast, and they were gracious enough to allow us to use the studio for free, I have to say. So let me ask you guys, because you guys are a group that you constantly are bringing people in. They asked me to come do a seminar, a trick kicking seminar, because I have experience with demo team and stuff. So where did that start? Was it Grandmaster Berlow that knew, like, we got to bring other people in and help influence our students, or did it kind of organically happen with a team collaborative over time? What was like the beginning of that?
I think it's probably just the mindset that he taught us was, you always want to, you can do so much, but if you bring others in with you, you can do more together.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with him about 2 years ago, and we're putting together like a document for the culture of UMac. So I wanted to write it down. This way there would be a legacy for future generations. And he said that he had said this many times. It was the first time I heard it, but it made a lot of sense. We want to be a fist rather than a finger. And a finger, if you're watching on video, right, you try and hit something with a finger, it bends, it breaks. But you put 5 fingers together and you make a fist, it's much stronger together. Which is a nice sentiment. That's kind of where that came from.
My students next week are going to hear about that analogy, for sure. Anyway, continue.
Well, the idea of strength in numbers.
Yes.
That's really what UMAC is.
Yeah.
It's we started with Grandmaster Berlow, Grandmaster Malala, Grandmaster Trafella, Master Bedini. They all started with they have the same mindset. Most of them had the same instructor. All under Grandmaster Kim, and then everybody came together to the same philosophy, same mindset, and okay, you have the same mindset, you have the same mindset, we all have the same mindset, let's come together and let's be the powerhouse. Let's be UMAC, let's spread the values to more communities, and I really like that.
Yeah, it's also like I was always taught from my instructors the chopstick theory. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the chopstick theory, but if you take one chopstick, you could just snap it in half.
That's the same.
It's the same analogy as the fist analogy, right? Take one chopstick, you could break it in half, put together a chunk of chopsticks, 20, 30 chopsticks. They have 550, 500 and almost 70 students in one location. Master Berlow has hundreds and hundreds of students at his location. You put all those chopsticks together, you're not breaking that, right?
Unless you're him.
Listen, on video, it's not looking too shabby. I'm not gonna lie, no.
You ever see him break cement? It's crazy.
I've had some injuries in my day from doing that too. I won't lie. Then no one sees the aftermath. Break 10 bricks of the back kick, and they don't see the next day limping around. Right?
Oh yeah, the Taekwondo Buffet. You came in with the cast.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the whole story.
Real quick, funny story. So, I broke my arm.
Oh my God.
We're promoting the benefits of Taekwondo here, but I broke my arm attempting a brick break, and because I did something wrong. It wasn't because of what I was trying to do. If I did it right, I wouldn't have gotten hurt. It was because of my ego in the moment. I tried doing something I shouldn't have. So I broke my forearm. And literally, I go to the hospital that night, get a cast put on. I had a soft cast, thank God. It was a clean break, but they didn't give me a hard cast. I don't know why, to be honest with you. And then I go home. So then that was a Saturday. Sunday I took a rest day. Monday I'm in the gym. Right?
Oh God.
So 5 people, like acquaintances and friends of mine in the gym, walk up to me and they're like, "What happened?" So I tell them what happened. And then they're like, "Why are you here?" I got another arm and I got 2 more legs and abs that I can train. So like, what am I not going to work out for? So for that entire time that I was injured, I had a broken arm going in the gym every day and I was training. And luckily I broke my right arm, and you can't tell from camera, but my right arm is slightly bigger than my left. So I was like, oh, I could happily catch up my other arm and it'd be perfect. It's a great opportunity.
Oh, I love that.
And just the other day, like literally last week, I was in the gym training, and a friend of mine walked up to me, a different guy, somebody that I wasn't really friendly with at the time, but now I've become friendly with. And he goes, yeah, I was thinking the other day, he's like, yo, CJ was in the gym training with a broken arm. I have no excuse to not go to the gym. Like, I'm tired, but I want to go, right? And I think that's, number one, it's an ego boost for us when we hear people say things like that to us. But the reality is we walk the walk that we talk about, right? We're the type of preachers, and I was saying we're preachers, but we are teachers that practice what we preach, right? Like I know Master Tracy, I believe you're involved in it too. Every week they're getting together with Grandmaster Berlow, training, I saw you guys doing Tai Chi, something I hadn't seen in a long time, which is awesome. And we and I know I do the same thing. We don't stand in front of a classroom and go, hey, you guys should be doing X, Y, and Z, and then we're going back not following what we just said. We're doing exactly what we're preaching to our students. And I think that's why we have seen our own levels of success, because we genuinely love doing this. We don't just do it for show. We're not, putting on a black belt and going, hey, I'm the toughest guy in the room and everyone should fear me, right? It's like I'm leading from the front, but I'm leading the people behind me to try to be like us and live the life that we do. Because I know you can agree to this. I know you can agree to this. If everybody on planet Earth trained in martial arts, we would live in a better world.
Oh,
no
100%.
question, 100,000,000,000%, that's the truth. And I think that's why we're here, right? I think that, we're gonna try to keep pushing this narrative that if everyone did martial arts, it would be a better place to live.
Yeah, and for everyone in the world to do martial arts, it can't just be the three of us teaching everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So
right.
I think this would be a good segue into, what we touched on a little bit, but like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's kind of scratching our own itch, right?
Yeah.
We're always thirsty for more knowledge, looking to learn more, looking to talk with the best minds in the industry. And like I said before, we're fortunate enough to have access to the best minds in the industry. There's a saying, your network is your net worth.
Oh, yeah.
And we're lucky enough where, you could look through your contacts and be like, I can call someone that has, 12 schools in whatever state this is, or this person has a $2 million location at 40% profit margin, which is insane.
Yeah.
So we could call and, talk to them, whereas someone that might be just starting out or is less connected isn't able to. So our goal is, our catchphrase is the martial arts business unfiltered, right? We're going to give you real conversations with good.
I hope. We didn't talk about this off camera, wink, wink.
But we're going to get people that are out there doing it every single day. They're in the thick of things. They do this full time, right? And people that are going to be real with us. They're going to have the real conversation. They're not trying to sell anything. We joke that Empowered Mastery is the sponsor because we're using their room, but there's no real sponsors. We're not monetizing anything off of this. We don't have coaching companies, anything like that. This is just to give the knowledge that we have access to everyone else in the industry, and with that hope of raising up the standard, the level of the industry to impact more students. That's my elevator pitch.
Yeah. Well, we just want everybody to grow. We want everybody to grow, not just financially. It's great to have a lot of students. It's great too, but we want the quality of we want Taekwondo to grow. Yeah. We want Taekwondo to develop and just be the best that it possibly can be. And of course, everybody promoting the values. Everybody promoting. It's just.
And other martial arts too.
If you have
a karate school.
Yeah, I was about to say
martial arts.
No. But he doesn't say that out of being disrespectful. He this is who he is.
Yes.
I'm a Taekwondoist, and we're proud of that, right? I'm fortunate enough to say that I'm a Taekwondoist at heart, but I've been exposed to a lot of different styles and training. So my school, I don't really consider it a Taekwondo school. That's why I didn't name it Taekwondo, because I do so many different styles with my students that I'm a martial arts school. I think I'm more under the umbrella of different styles. But going back to like our mission and why we're doing this, I have to admit that Master Tracy and Master Berlow, you guys had a leader who gave you a path. Like, hey, if you guys want to take this on as a career, this is the way to do it. I've done this before. We're going to create opportunity for you guys. And now look, they and I both, and we've had different paths to get there, but we are blessed that we get to put on a uniform every single day and teach people, and this is how we make a living. I mean, this is, how many people do we know that don't really like what they do, but they do it because they have to get the paycheck, right? So we are completely blessed that we're in this position, but there are people out there still who, I don't think it's done intentionally, but I think that there are people in our industry and other industries, but let's focus on the martial art industry, that they open a school, they start running a school, they start promoting students, start developing black belts, start developing instructors, but that's kind of the ceiling where it stops, right? And then, all right, now go figure out what you're going to do, whether that means they have to go leave and open their own school, or they have to go into a completely different field and just, make money a different way. So I think that another purpose of this podcast is for us to start creating a really clear path of what our experience has done for us, plus coupled with the guests that we're going to have on the show who have done this at the highest levels, or they're doing it at the level that we're doing it at, or they're just learning and figuring it out. So anybody watching this who maybe is 18 years old, who's trying to consider, what am I going to do for a living when I grow up? I love Taekwondo, or I love martial arts, or I'm a part of this, jiu-jitsu school that I really want to have my own school, but I really don't know how to do it, and maybe my instructor's not really the person to help me get there, or maybe you're going to be the person to bring these ideas to your instructor, and they start realizing, hey, we can create a path, right? Yeah. This is the conversation that needs to really happen, because I think there's a lot of people that feel a little stuck. Right? And they're kind of stuck in their circumstance, and they feel like, well, what's the next step? And I think that we've experienced that next step, and we can give a lot of insight for it. Right? I think that's going to help.
And I think it's great that our paths have all been different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like your journey was way different than my journey, which was different than your journey, even though we grew up in the same organization, two totally different paths within that.
I didn't finish college.
I didn't either.
I left early to open up
a
Taekwondo school.
Does that mean I'm the smartest guy in the room?
You might just be.
He's the smartest, he's the best looking, and I don't know where that leaves me, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I have the best looking triceps on the podcast.
There it is. It's getting jacked.
But yeah, I mean, so you never finished college.
No.
Yeah. And I think it's, if I had to guess, we didn't even talk about this off camera, so I'm learning this for the first time. I'm going to assume it's because you knew what you were going to do.
Oh yeah, well, why spend the money?
Yeah.
Why spend the money? I had the opportunity.
Exactly.
So I can tell you the story.
Tell us.
Share.
Share.
Okay, so I went, graduated high school, Lakeland High School.
Shout out.
Yeah. Look at that.
I'll be the shout out guy.
Big dogs.
So,
Big dogs.
Big dogs, Lakeland. No, it was great. So 2014 graduated, I got accepted to the easiest school to get accepted to, Arizona State University. There's a going phrase: you need to know your name and have a heartbeat to get in. But I got a scholarship. It was awesome.
Thank God he knows his name.
Yeah, I know my name. My name is Master C.J. So we went over. I went over there. I had a great time. I studied exercise science. A lot of working out, made some really, really great friends. My wedding's going to be awesome because everybody hopefully is going to be there. Had a great time, learned a good amount. I'm going to come back to that in a second.
Okay.
So I learned, right?
Yeah.
I learned, but I remember I was in my junior year of college and I was planning my spring break to Cabo. I will never forget this. So I was about to put a deposit down for my spring break to Cabo. And my dad calls me. I'm on my way in Arizona to Taekwondo training. I'm in the car, my Mini Cooper. And he calls me. And long story short, we had a conversation. He planted his seed. He said the Taekwondo school that was across the street from your old high school was closing down. The space is vacant. Would you consider coming back and opening up? Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So
it wasn't a consideration. It was, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm looking back. Of course, I have my friends, and we're all having a great time. We're doing our stuff.
Now, time out for 1 second.
Yeah.
Because you said that you were in Arizona driving the Taekwondo class. So you were training out there?
Oh, yeah.
Where did you train out there? Unless you don't want to say.
No, MBT Taekwondo.
Shout out,
Master Johnny. Right?
Master Johnny, Big dogs.
And one thing about them I always loved is their culture amongst their team, and it was just so amazing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I could talk about that for a while.
Yeah. Do you guys have another hour? We'd like to stay in.
Yeah, we're gonna go for another hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going there, and end up within, I would say, like a couple weeks. I finished the semester. I said goodbye to everybody, of course. I came, I landed the plane. I didn't land it myself, but
I hope
plane landed. I went right home, put down my stuff. That day, we started building it out. And I remember polyurethane the wood on the side. sweeping the mess, doing everything, and just being so excited, and and that's crazy that it's 2017.
I was gonna just about to ask you what year.
Wow.
What year was it?
8 years ago. It feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
It feels like yesterday. I remember my first lesson. I remember, having the first student join us. It's such a blessing.
Yeah, sure.
Going through and I always knew though. I always knew that I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna open a Taekwondo school. I just happened to get a head start.
Yeah, I mean,
So it worked out really well.
I feel, I was saying this earlier, like I feel like our paths are similar.
Yeah.
They're definitely similar, but there's some differences I'd like to share. So, growing up, I started training at 3 years old, and my mother wound up marrying my instructor. So it was kind of like a family business too. So when it got to the point where I was in college, I knew I wanted to go to college, but for the reason of just learning. I didn't want to go to get a degree to go get a job. It was just, I want to learn, I want to have a higher education, say that I went to college, and I want to see if I can get something from college that's going to help me to run a better school, because that was always my vision. I'm not going to speak on who I was doing it with at the time and everything, and you'll learn more later why, but for the time being, I'll just say that the path to get to owning my own school or operating my own school was not clear. Like it was just, how do I get there? No one's really helping me. What am I going to do? Right? And my mother was constantly trying to get me to not be a part of this industry, because her husband, they weren't legally married, but basically her husband, she said, it was like really long hours, odd hours. You work at night, you wake up late in the day. It's like, it's like a really weird schedule. And, she felt like there were a lot of negatives attached to it. And then you had my father, who was a New York City cop who retired. He was also a bus driver for the local, Pioneer Bus Company. And he had 2 pensions basically coming in, and he's like, get a city job. You have security, you don't want to go into an industry that there's no security, right? Which is true, as a parent, you want to give your child the best success plan possible. And in his opinion, that's what it was. But I always said, I have to walk in the shoes. Right? If I'm working a job that I don't like, what pension matters? It doesn't matter, because I hate my life. I don't want to do that. Right?
Can I ask you a question real quick? Have you ever said, more recently, since you opened your school, do you say you're going to work?
Never.
You ever say you're going to work?
Never.
You get into so many fights about this.
Oh yeah. I've had conversations.
Yeah.
I don't think but it's awesome that we're on the same page.
Yeah,
I've never said I'm going to work.
Yeah. There's hard days.
Of course.
There's for sure days where I'm like,
and it's
I gotta go home. Right?
Yeah.
It's hard work. If you guys, it's funny, people will talk about, oh, you guys, you own your own business. You guys run your own business. You guys have it easy. Quite the opposite. People don't realize when you own or run your own business, it's literally 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
There's no time off. You can carve out time for yourself, and you should. There has to be a balance, because if you keep working yourself into the ground, that's exactly what's going to happen. Everything is going to go into the ground, because you don't have the balance in your life to be able to have a fulfilled life. But at the same time, if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get what you can get out of it. Just like anything, if you put 100% into it, you're going to get 100% out of it. You put 80% into it, you're going to get 80% out of it.
How often do we say that?
Yeah.
What you put into is what you get out of
Yeah.
it.
What you put into is what you get out of it.
Always.
Oh, 100%.
I'll just quickly finish my story. So,
Shout out to UMAC students.
Shout out. So, shout out.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but I'm happy you asked. So basically, I knew, like, okay, I have this goal. I have a lot of naysayers, especially 2 very important people in my life who are kind of being naysayers. Your parents, your mother and father, are like the pinnacle of kind of who you become, in a sense. They raised you, right? But I said, you know what? There were a lot of positive influences that I had from where I was, and I said, okay, I know I want to do this, but how am I going to get there? So I'm in college, and so I'm going, okay, I'll be a physical education major, right? I'll see how that goes. So I'm taking the courses. Oh, maybe I'll do athletic training, might help me to learn more knowledge. You know what? Maybe I'll start going down the path of PT. I could become a physical therapist, and that can be like a a differentiator between me and my industry versus everybody else. Who do you know who's a PT and also a martial arts master, right? It's like, it's very rare, right? So I was like, maybe I'll do that. So I started going down that path. And from going down all these paths, I started learning a lot of different things, right? I know a lot about the body. I can tell you every bone in your body and what the muscles are and what tendons they attach to. And I feel like that's a differentiator between me and a lot of people, is that I have a really deep background in that. So then I'm in college. I'm at the same time I'm teaching. So I'm teaching, 30 hours a week, maybe more, I don't know. And at the time I would be teaching late. I'd be ending classes at 10:30 at night, just crazy stuff. I lived in Jersey. I taught in Staten Island, so it would be almost an hour to get home, eat dinner, do my schoolwork, it was just, I was burning the candle at both ends,
Yeah.
And I actually got kicked out of my university. So I went to Kean University. My grades were so poor, they kicked me out. So my mother gave me a choice. She goes, either you go get a full-time job doing something else and you move out, or you keep going to school and you focus on school. Like you gotta pick. So I said, okay, I'll go to community college. I'll try to get my act together. I went up after the second semester. I had a 3.8 GPA. Like when I put my brain power into it, I could do it. It's not like I don't have the know-how. It's just wherever you put your focus and energy, that's what's gonna produce, right? So I actually appealed and got back into my university because of my great grades at my community college, and which was a goal of mine, because I said I can't leave that university on this note. Like I gotta get back in. So I got back in. So then I had switched my major back to physical education because my mother had convinced me, okay, be a PE teacher, get a pension, and then at night run a school, or teach at the school or whatever, right?
I had that thought for a while.
Right? So I was like, okay, I'll try that. So then I'm going to school. So one day I'm in statistics class. Now, if you know me, like Master Tracy, he's Mr. Numbers. Okay, he's a numbers guy. Thank God he's in my pocket, because
Me too, right?
oh my God, like, I'm not a numbers guy, right? So I'm in statistics, and in statistics they paired you with who's in the same major. Okay, at the time I'm 24. My partner is an 18-year-old girl named Nancy. Shout out. And Nancy and I are working on this homework for statistics. And she just looks at me and goes, "You're so bad at this." Right? So I go, "I know, math is not my strong suit." So she goes, "Yeah, you should just quit." Right? She was joking. But I look at her, right? And I go, "You're 100% right." And I got up and I left and I never went back, right?
That's awesome.
So she called me because we had class later that day. So she called me, or she texted me, and she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "No, you were right. I'm just not gonna go back," right? And she's like, "But no, I was kidding. I didn't mean to make you." I was like, no. It's less about you and more about me realizing something, which is, yes, I've been going to school for the wrong reason. Like I wanted to get knowledge, and I did. I had a professor, Professor Shore. She taught me so much about childhood education, and I still use lessons I learned from her. I had a great, motor skills professor. I had a great anatomy professor, right? I learned a lot. But I felt like at this point, I'm pursuing a degree that I don't want to do. I don't want to work that job. I don't want to do that. So why am I still here? So I left. I called my mother. I called my now wife. I said, "I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm miserable. I'm doing stuff I'm not happy doing. I got out what I felt like I needed to. So what can I do now?" So I was still teaching at the school. There's another long story. I'll get into that at a later time. But I wasn't teaching that much. I was teaching like 2 classes a week. So I was like, okay, I have to find another job to support me at the time as much as I could. So I became a personal trainer in a gym.
That's why you're so jacked.
Thank you. And I started doing that. I wound up becoming the top trainer in the gym, and I wound up doing really well. But the goal wasn't to become a personal trainer. The goal was to save enough money to either open my own school or buy time to find an opportunity to take over a school. It was never meant to be a long-term thing. And then luckily I came into an opportunity and I was able to take over a school, and now I was able to open my own. So, the path of, unfortunately I feel like in our society, people say, in order to make something great out of your life, you have to follow this rigid plan. It's not true, right? We've all had, and you went the kind of traditional route, but what he does now, you took a lot from your degree, but you don't use your degree for what you do.
Oh yeah.
You're doing something different that was an extracurricular activity outside of schooling, but you took your brain power from schooling and applied it to what you do, and you became really successful, right? Your education was within the walls of the Taekwondo school, right? And I feel like the same way for me. A lot of what I do is my education came from training. Your education in that regard also came from training, right? But whoever's listening to this podcast right now, you don't have to take the traditional way. What you do need to do, and I think we can all agree on this, you need to try your best, give 100%, and try to always learn. Yeah. As long as you do that, you're going to be successful because you're going to put your know-how, your brain power, but soaking in information like a sponge is what's going to help you to get to the next level. If you don't try to learn, you're going to just either sit still and eventually you're going to start to decay because you don't know everything. Yeah. We don't know everything. We have levels of success as of now, but if we stay rigid like this, eventually we're going to start falling off because times will evolve. Yeah. Right? And we've all been through the eras of evolving in the industry, and we know we need to make these small changes over time to keep with the times and be able to stay relevant.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that should inspire you to tune into the next episode because this was kind of our introduction of like, hey, this is who we are, what we're about. But really, we're going to put out some content that's going to help you learn, continue to grow, and this way take your next step to elevate to your next level of success. I'm going to announce our next guest, if that's okay. We're going to have our first guest, our inaugural guest, is going to be Grandmaster Berlow, which you've heard a lot about. Hopefully he lives up to the expectations.
I've known him for a while. And who is he?
Master C.J. back at it again.
He's going to be our first podcast guest. Do you guys have any closing remarks?
Did you learn something? Did you hear something? This was great. I want to keep this going.
Yeah, we can keep talking.
I want to go.
We're going to shut the camera off and have another episode just for us.
Yeah, this is great. I love if you guys you're listening in, just hearing how genuine everything is. There's really no script. We're just the conversation. I love the flow. I love the fact that we're all on a mission. We're all on a mission, and it's to benefit, to contribute to society. And I think that Taekwondo, martial arts, I won't just say Taekwondo.
No.
We come in with the intention to help, inspire, to educate, to help people find success in whatever they're doing. So I just love the conversation, and I'm grateful.
Yes, sir. I'll add on to that. Number one, I want to thank these two amazing gentlemen. We're not going to be doing this every week. We're not going to sit and hug each other and say kumbaya all the time. But just as an inaugural episode, I want to say how grateful I am for these two individuals. They've become really great friends of mine, great mentors. I look to them for influence, and we have this great power, this great dynamic between each other, which I think is really going to help our podcast here succeed. And I want to, of course, thank Grandmaster Berlow, Master Merz. I mean, I could sit and thank a plethora of people.
Should we just do a podcast of thanking?
Yes, we should do a podcast. The next episode is going to be a podcast of thank now. But everyone who's watching, all the mentors that we've had, everybody who has influence over us, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to listen and learn, because now we can take this and really hopefully help another set of individuals who have no connection to this yet, and another generation of people. And I also want to say that, like Master Berlow was saying and like Master Tracy was saying, we just want to help. We want to help everyone live a better life, and hopefully through this mission we'll be able to do that. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. Anything else that you need to do to help our podcast grow is going to be forever grateful. And I think that we're going to be pretty interactive with the people that connect with us through this platform, and we'll be able to just inspire and grow.
It's going to be awesome. Get excited, everybody.